Hey, welcome on this episode of the Endpoint Zone. You're going to see that we are doing things a little bit differently. It is the very first work from home episode. Brad, what have we got coming up?
We're going to talk about the things you need to be doing right now to prepare for Patch Tuesday in April. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the security attacks and how we're seeing attackers take advantage of COVID-19. And we're just going to kind of share with you the common questions that Simon and I are getting from around the world and what people are asking us to help them do right now.
Yeah, it's a super great episode. You're going to learn a lot about how you're going to be able to make your organization better respond to COVID-19.
And you'll see both of our houses.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Endpoint Zone with Brad Anderson. As you can see, myself and Brad are bringing the show to you today directly from our homes. Brad, it's great to have you back on the show again. How are you finding this work from home?
We're giving social distancing. We're giving the example here, right?
We are exactly in the same space, even if we wanted to be this week.
You know, I think one of the most interesting things about many of us working from home is how much of people's like personal life you get a chance to see. Mm-hmm. And so that's been a really fun thing about it. You get to see how, what people's office looks like, and it's just been a lot of fun. Now, having said that, man, have I learned a lot about what it means to work from home and what it means to work and not be with people all the time. So we definitely want to touch base on that. But more than anything, Simon, I think we want to talk about getting ready for Patch Tuesday and some of the most common questions that you and I are getting right now from across the world.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, when we have these conversations, as we have been just solidly with our customers for the past 3-4 weeks now, so many of their questions have actually focused very squarely on how do I get my employees working really effectively from their home offices like us. Now, my team's kind of interesting because my team's spread all over the world. Most of my team actually works from home. We've kind of felt like we were doing a good job of this. And I think a lot of your team really has felt like we've been doing a good job of this, working from home ourselves. But it is just so different when everybody. It's a different experience when you don't have any meetings occurring physically, when everybody is not in the office. How have you been finding that? How's your work style changed?
Yeah, it's funny. I find myself being a lot more tired at the end of the day than I am when I'm in the office. And so there's been a couple of things, for me. One, just with back-to-back video meetings all day long, you don't get those natural moments to kind of stand up, walk down the hall, see people. And I miss that. I miss that a lot. So, there are some of the teams at Microsoft that are now scheduling meetings either 45 minutes or 50 minutes just to give people that 5 or 10 minutes to just get a break. I've got to go outside. So a lot of my one-on-ones that I'm having right now, I actually go out and I've got Teams on my phone, and I have a walking one-on-one because you just need to get outside and see some sunlight, feel the wind. Things like, for me, making sure as I'm talking with people, first of all, just checking in and see how people are doing. There's so much anxiety. There's so much just concern. And then, as you can imagine, so much of Microsoft is working these incredibly long hours as we're ensuring that we keep all of the services up and running, especially as we making sure that we meet the needs of all the, the crisis workers, the people who are on the front lines, the first responders, the healthcare. There's been a lot talked about in the news about the incredible growth of all the services. And it's even more than just the number of users. It's the intensity that all the services are being used. And so we've just made sure that we guarantee those SLAs are up, and we're trying our best to make sure the world can continue to work as we see these exponential growths in our services. How about you, Simon? What have you seen?
I've been feeling exactly the same kind of things. I mean, we're in a part of the world where our schools have now been closed for 2.5, almost 3 weeks. That has meant that for myself and my wife, we both work for Microsoft. We're both working from home, and we've taken on a second job of being a full-time homeschooler to our kids, and that's a new thing that so many of us are actually having to deal with. You you have to try and do your full day of work, not because, and you know this more than anyone, yourself, the rest of our leaders are not kind of pressuring us to make sure that we are doing everything we used to do. But internally, it's really hard to unwind and actually start thinking that things are going to be different. It's taken a couple of weeks for me personally and for my wife for us to change the way that we've set our days up so that we maybe get to the gym in the morning, which is just over my right shoulder. Start off first thing in the got to have a home. Yeah, at this point in time, got to have a home gym. Got to repurpose a room. You got to start off a little bit earlier. You've got to work a little bit later. But then during the day, you have to go and do like second grade math, and it's just different. And working those things together is a challenge. And I think we're kind of getting into a new normal situation now with that. But loads of my team are facing the same kind of thing. Loads of our customers are facing exactly the same thing. And I even jumped onto a conference call with one of our partners from Google a couple of days ago. And this was kind of fascinating. We'd never met before. We spent the first 10 minutes talking about the current situation and just normalizing and being human and coaching each other through it. And I think everybody's doing that. There's a lot of joint coaching for us all to get through these situations. It's fascinating.
And that's great. You see humanity coming through. For us, one of the challenges, there's 9 of us here at the house. We just happen to have our oldest daughter, her husband, and their 2 kids with us. They're kind of in between houses, and then 2 kids that are home from college, and our youngest. And so there's just a lot going on. Now, gratefully, that there's a lot of high quality family time, which I'm super grateful for. I don't know that I'll ever have this kind of time again with 3 of our children, actually 4 of our children, 2 of the grandchildren, and it's just I'm treasuring every single moment. I tell you, there's nothing better in the morning. 7:30 when the 2 grandkids come out of their bedrooms and they're just like they're introducing, we're in the house. And it's just joy. And so, there is some goodness that's coming out of it. Boy, it's just challenging times for people around the world.
Yeah, it really is. And it's good that you mentioned that goodness. I'm feeling the same thing. It's really nice to actually have family around all the time and for them to be accessible, to be able to have those conversations whenever we want to. It's a wonderful thing.
Let's talk a little bit about the common questions that you and I are getting right now. Yeah. And, let me start with the biggest question that I'm getting right now. And this is actually, I think, the most important thing for people to take away from this session. You've got to get ready for Patch Tuesday. We're sitting about, 11 days away from 10 days away from Patch Tuesday. The number one question that I have that I get as I talk with CIOs, and it's 2 or 3 CIOs a day right now. Many organizations are struggling because their VPN infrastructure was never built to have everybody working from home. And so many organizations still have the model where all the traffic comes from the devices through the VPN, so back into the company, then it boomerangs after the internet, then the responses come back to the company, and so you get this boomerang effect. When you're using cloud services, the model is the devices should be talking directly to the cloud service, and you don't want to go through the boomerang. And so, the number one thing that I'm suggesting and what I'm really recommending, and I'm answering questions from customers right now, is set up your VPNs to do what is called split tunneling, and then take, for example, your config manager servers, get those set up with what we call the cloud management gateway we're going to talk about here in a minute. But by doing that, you can take, for example, all of the load of your Windows management. So that's, OS upgrades, OS deployment, patching, software distribution, and all of that can now be delivered directly from Azure, directly down to the device without having to come through the VPN. It just takes a massive VPN. Likewise, if you are an Office 365 customer, there's no reason why your traffic should be going from the device to the company through a VPN, then out to the O365 service. It should be going directly from the device out to the service. Now, some organizations may come back and say, well, what about the security? Well, that's exactly why we built conditional access. Conditional access gives us that ability to ensure in that model where devices are talking directly to the Office 365 services, or for that matter, any cloud service that you're managing M365, we can ensure that only trusted users using trusted devices are getting access. So the biggest thing that I would encourage people listening to this is get ready for Patch Tuesday. Go set up what is called the Cloud Management Gateway in Config Manager. Configure your VPNs to do split tunneling, and then that'll take all that load off. Now, the one thing that I would also say here, this is not a time, to try to go and completely transform what you're doing. It's not a time to go experimenting. It's time to go use proven, tested, things that are already running at scale around the globe. And that's what the Cloud Management Gateway is from Config Manager. It's super easy to set up. It's BYOA, bring your own Azure license, or BYAL, is that would bring your own Azure license. And once you have that Azure subscription, you go into the Config Manager console. You simply just put that subscription license in there, that subscription number, and we go set everything else up for you. And so, we go up and we create the servers up in Azure. There's the security between the SCCM server, the Cloud Management Gateway that's up in Azure. The security back to your on-prem is rock solid. We're going to publish a blog on that next week. And then all your devices are now communicating to that Cloud Management Gateway, and all of that Windows management traffic is off of your VPN.
Yeah, and there's some real kind of cleverness in the way that we've delivered the Cloud Management Gateway solution. There's different methods to be able to use for authentication. You can use certificates, you can use tokens that are issued directly from Azure Active Directory. It makes a very, very easy deployment model, puts it in place very simply. You can choose which Azure regions you want to go and deploy your Cloud Management Gateway in, but also that means that one of the very, very cool things about Cloud Management Gateway is you don't have to deploy into the same Azure region where your organization is physically located. It doesn't need to be in the same spot, so you can go to anywhere you want to inside of Azure. And then, in addition to that, it's really low cost. I mean, I think you've got some numbers on how much it actually is costing for, say, a 100,000 seat company to be able to use Cloud Management Gateway.
Yeah, I'll tell you the patches that are coming out in April is one of the larger sets of patches that we've released on Patch Tuesday. And I had one of the program managers go and do the math for me real quick. I want to understand, what is going to be the egress cost and networking costs of doing it. It's going to be less than 10 cents per PC in order to offload that off onto Azure. And it's interesting, one of our MVPs actually published a data point the other day where they said they've set up Cloud Management Gateway, and for now all of their devices go through the Cloud Management Gateway. They don't have to go through the firewall for all their traffic. And he said it's less money per month than a postage stamp cost per device. So super cost effective, it's predictable, it's secure. You free up all that bandwidth on your VPN, so the day-to-day work is faster. It's just a win for everybody.
So the other thing as well is it's not just about the technology cost, the kind of the cost of like buying your Azure credits and using them. It's actually about your process costs for your people. And this is the really, really key thing. Actually, once you've implemented Cloud Management Gateway, it's actually not a huge change to your people and process inside of the organization. Approving your patches, it's the same thing you were doing before. Being able to deploy your software, same thing you were doing before. Getting those PCs enrolled, running the management software, exactly the same as before. Anybody else, if you're going to try and use any other solution for this, you're going to have to make some kind of change to the way you're operating IT. And that, frankly, is not what operations in IT needs right now. They're just trying to keep stuff up and running.
Yeah, it's really fascinating stuff that we're going through right now and seeing, Simon. The other conversation that I'm having a lot right now is customers are calling, CIOs are saying, listen, with everybody working home and this being extended, we need to provision either additional devices or new devices for our employees, or we want to provision them VDI, and we don't want to stand up the infrastructure. We want to do it up in the cloud. So those are really two common questions. Now, to just give you a couple of examples, you and I are working with one organization that's trying to deploy 100,000 new laptops right now. And the fascinating thing is, the limiting factor for them right now is actually supply. And so, what they're having is these PCs come in every day. They're not waiting for them to be shipped in bulk, but they come in every day, and then they're shipping them right out to the users. And there really are two ways that if you move and kind of do this in an entirely modern way, you would basically set up Config Manager and Intune to be working together in co-managed state. And then you could use a set of capabilities called Autopilot. With Autopilot, you can just literally ship the PC right to the employee. They open it up, they log in, and then we provision the entire device over the internet. Going back to what we first talked about, getting that Cloud Management Gateway set up is critical because you want all of that to come, all the apps, for example, that are coming down that first time out of those PCs that come over the internet and not through your VPN. The second way that a lot of organizations are doing this is they're having the PC shipped into a warehouse, and then they're going through a white glove treatment where all the standard applications, somebody takes it out of the box, gets it provisioned, then it ships off to the user, and the user authenticates, and just then the personalized apps come down, based upon the user's identity. But again, getting that cloud management gateway set up so that all those apps come from the internet and not over the VPN is important. The VDI has been super interesting. We've talked about the fact that we've seen just massive growth in Windows Virtual Desktop, and it's beyond the use of all of our services are beyond anything that any of us could have projected. Mm-hmm. WVD, Windows Virtual Desktop, has been super interesting. We have organizations calling us saying, I need to provision 30,000 VDI sessions, and I want to do it as fast as we can do it. Organizations that are provisioning 5, 8, 10,000 in 1 to 2 weeks. And that, I think, is just the beauty of doing this in the cloud. You don't have to go find capacity. You don't have to do the gymnastics, if you will, to try to free up existing capacity in the data center. You just rely upon the scale of Azure, and you can go up and you can provision these Windows Virtual Desktops, with a few clicks of the mouse.
Yeah, I can't imagine if we didn't have the cloud, I couldn't imagine the logistical nightmare that IT admins would be going through right now, just literally trying to lay their hands on the tin to provision for thin clients. It would be impossible, and they would be completely straining at the seams. Instead, they've given that work to Microsoft, and we can build a solid supply chain that allows us to be able to work within those constraints. It's kind of an amazing thing that you can only get from the cloud.
And in addition to the supply chain, we can basically shape and move, load around. And so, for example, if we see one particular data center on the East Coast of the United States getting overloaded, we can actually just shift capacity into another one of the data centers on the East side, or ship it down into something in the South. Of course, understanding what the latency is, but it's when you have the kind of scale and that presence that we have globally, it allows us to have a view that doesn't exist, for just a standard organization, because we have so much capacity coming in that we can make sure that we're making capacity available. That made me think of one other thing. There's been 3 customers I've spoken to this week, and in these 3, what was common about them in all 3 scenarios, I've been working with them for a couple of years about how we help them move to Office 365 and Microsoft 365. And Office 365 would be the first major cloud service that these organizations had moved to. You can kind of get an idea of probably what vertical, or what industry these are in. And they've been, as the CIO has been having these conversations about, hey, we want to move to Office 365, because it's the first cloud service. You have what I call the antibodies that kind of come out and say, well, hey, is it secure? Can we do that? And so there's just been all kinds of hurdles to overcome. In all 3 of these conversations that I had, they said, we can't get there fast enough now. We have seen why the importance of having this capacity and the agility up in the cloud is so important. So we want to have everything moved to Office 365. And now it's gone from, well, let's take our time and let's be thoughtful about it, to, why are you not there today? Can you get there tomorrow? And so we've just seen this massive shift. And I think that's good, because really at the end of the day, if you've got your office running up in the cloud, you're actually more secure than if it's running in your own data centers, because of the global view that we have. And that probably takes me to the last thing I think we should talk about today, which is, what are we seeing in terms of security concerns, and what are we actually seeing in terms of security attacks, as that's being caused by the work from home and COVID? So I'm curious what you're seeing.
I think this is the effect on the way that customers have had to deal with this has been kind of fascinating. What I saw initially was, just get it done. Like, we've just got to get people working from home. Now the conversation is definitely changing to, okay, how do we make sure that this thing is secure? And I think that that's coming about because there are active exploits out there where we know that people are trying to attack other organizations, because they know that there's got to be some openness. I saw a really interesting piece just yesterday, actually, of a piece of war dialing software that's been created to try and find some open endpoints. It's fascinating.
I had a leader one time make a comment of, let no crisis go. What was the word? Let no crisis go unchallenged, or that's not the tone of it. It was let's let no good crisis go without seeing a benefit of it. The attackers are definitely seeing that. What we have seen, and we have a heat map that shows us what's kind of going on around the world, and there's no doubt that the attackers are using the virus and COVID-19 as an opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
And so we see very, very specific and targeted phishing attacks that are all related to COVID-19 and well-engineered, well-thought, and it's all about getting users to click on things and just giving the fear and the anxiety of what is happening around us. The click-through on these is higher than what we've seen in other kinds of things. And so, everybody should just be aware. They probably have assumed this, but they may not have known it. But the number of attacks and the sophistication of the attacks that are now being leveled, basically playing on people's fear of COVID-19, is very, very real, and it's accelerating. And that's why, it's so important to get conditional access set up. With conditional access from Microsoft 365, we can ensure that only trusted users on trusted devices are accessing your data and your apps, whether that's on-prem, whether that's Office 365, whether that's any other SaaS app. When you enable MFA enabled, you decrease your likelihood of being compromised by more than 99.9%. Yeah. But you want an intelligent MFA. You want that intelligent MFA that comes up when there's a reason to challenge the user. As we roll a lot of this stuff out at Microsoft, and we roll it out early, if we ever make any kind of a change where the users are being challenged with an MFA challenge more often than they should, boy, there's frustration because it just kind of gets in the way. And so our MFA is so deeply integrated with our conditional access, and you only get that challenge coming up if we think that there is a reason, that there is something suspicious, and we just want to validate that it is who you are, or we see that there's something on the device that needs to be challenged. And so the one, and we've seen a spike in conditional access being enabled, but that is one of the most important things I would encourage everybody here to think about is look at your policies. If you've got EMS deployed, if you don't have it deployed, you should get it deployed. But turn on conditional access. It is very unique because of the view that we have on identity trust, coupled with the view that we have on device trust and device configuration. We're managing more devices than anybody on the planet. That combination is what our conditional access is based on, and it is critical.
Yeah, it really, really, truly is. Brad, I think we should give the viewers some of our best resources so that we can help them to get set up, get deployed. So I'm just going to share my screen, and then we'll run through a few of those resources and just hit some points in there as well.
Yeah, just emphasize what Simon said. We've been busy trying to publish as much specific and prescriptive guidance as we can. And the direction I've given out to the team is, be specific. If there's a weakness or a challenge, call it out. But what we want to do here is show you a number of these key blogs that you should be looking at because, we're trying to help you understand what you need to do to enable your users securely to collaborate and work.
Yeah. So we have actually created inside of Microsoft a landing page for COVID-19. There we've pulled together a lot of our resources, help you to understand what Microsoft is doing inside of our COVID-19 response, how you can get access to all of the resources from Microsoft to help your customers to be able to work from home. We've really kind of pulled it all together in one central hub, including resources for educators and families, making sure that everyone's got access to the best technical support information that's possible. We've also, inside of our technical communities, pulled together kind of similar content around enabling remote work. So from within here, you can see some of the most recent posts from the various different groups within inside of Microsoft that are working on different levels of solutions to enable work from home type scenarios during this time. You can see those things, you can comment, you can ask questions, all within the technical community. Same's been done for business continuity and disaster recovery, getting all that information into one simple central location on our community sites. Within our own group, we've been blogging about what is possible with Microsoft Endpoint Manager. We've got 3 blog posts on the Endpoint Manager blog, which are our anchors for where you can find the information around how you get set up with things like co-management, what co-management is going to do for you, how it's going to enable you to be able to manage those devices wherever they go. It's going to explain how you can go into lots and lots of steps and depth all through those 3 blog articles. It's actually a 3-part series. Part 2 takes you down into a little bit more around provisioning with autopilot. Again, lots and lots of depth in the links that are inside of these posts to take you through some of the things that Brad and I have talked about over the course of the past few minutes. Definitely goes into lots of detail on data protection on iOS, Android, Mac OS, and on Windows. We specifically spend some time talking about how you get up and running with Cloud Management Gateway. And in fact, we have this amazing article from one of our program managers in the ConfigMan team, Rob York. He's written up an article on exactly what you need to do in order to be able to pull together Cloud Management Gateway and get it up and running for your users. And then the final thing, all of these articles, they all link through to Fast Track. And Brad, you're probably the best person to explain what Fast Track does for us.
Yeah, Fast Track, this wonderful program where you have engineers that are in the engineering team that are here to help you get deployed and configured. And so you can go to the Fast Track site here that your assignment is showing. You can make a request for resources, a request for help. Then you literally have somebody from the engineering team call you. We can help you get co-management set up. We can help you get the cloud management gateway set up. We can help you get teams deployed. And so these are resources that literally sit in the engineering team, and their sole focus is to just help organizations get deployed and using what they've purchased from us. It applies to customers of all sizes. It's a fantastic resource to use. I just want to just emphasize a little even firmer what Simon was just showing you about that cloud management gateway. The Patch Tuesday in April is not going to be small, and you want to have that content offloaded off of your VPN, or your users will see it. And so you've got enough time to get this set up. It's proven, it's reliable. There are millions of devices that are being managed this way. Like I mentioned, there's been a 300% growth in the number of customers who have set up the cloud management gateway in just the last 2 weeks. It's low risk, it's proven, it's secure, it's scalable. It will have a huge impact on your ability to get your systems patched fast. At the same time, not taking the bandwidth that is so precious right now, as you have so many people working from remotely. So if there was one thing that I hope you take away from this, is go get that configured, because that's probably the most important thing for you to do in the next 7 to 10 days.
Yeah, it absolutely is. We're here to help customers get set up with Cloud Management Gateway as well, inside of their environments. They can kind of fast track. We can help them to get set up, and our biggest customers are going to get some specialist assistance there as well. Brad, thank you very much for joining me from home for this one. This is different. I think we're probably going to end up doing the next couple of shows like this. There's a little bit of glitches around bandwidth, but I kind of like it.
There's going to be a new normal in how we work. I think the amount of business travel is going to slow down, are going to be smaller. Meetings are going to be more important like this. Microsoft has announced that all of our events are going to go online for calendar year 20. And so there's just going to be a new norm. So I think this is going to be a lot of what we're going to be doing. Now, maybe we'll end on something fun and something kind of like, positive here, because there's just so much anxiety going around on us. This week, I got my first Duo delivered to me. Life-changing. Life-changing is about the only way to describe it. You have these two screens on this device, and it's amazing what you can do on this device when you have the two screens. I compare it to what I've historically been able to do on my phone, and I can get so much more done, and I'm so much more productive with it. It is a life-changing device, and wow, I am so impressed with what the team has built on this. And I say the team, it's all of Microsoft 365, because it comes through Windows, through all the Office management, security. I can't wait to get this into the hands of a Punchy. It's cool, but it's very effective and productive.
It's been a couple of days since I've been and checked my mailbox, so I think I'll take a walk right now after we've done the show and check and see if there's one waiting for me inside of my mailbox.
I think there's probably a little bit more security around these things than going through the mail.
Yeah. Oh well. Okay, Brad, it was great talking to you. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, and I just would say to everybody, hey, be safe, be well, take care of the people around you. These are different times than what we've ever seen. But just know that Microsoft is working hard. The whole company is working hard to make sure that we meet our obligations and our SLAs with you. Take care.